Welcome to the Lucidez podcast, where I explore everything. Because in my experience, everything is connected to everything else. And because I believe in the infinite, unbounded potential within each of us, and as much as I feel like it's impossible, I continue to strive for some kind of impossible capacity in me. And I don't even think it will be that large, but sometimes the smallest capacity that we've been unable to touch feels impossible, such as the capacity to dream a new life. I can dream it, I can dream it. I can't actually believe in it. Well, some my brief moments, but to believe in and to believe in a new life, that feels impossible. So, dying to live again. I'm still in this process of dying in order to live again. I know I did a podcast recently where I talked about fighting to live and dying to live. I'm definitely deepening into the dying to live again process. There are parts of me that I 100% know need to die in order for me to live again. And I'm afraid, and I'm sad, and I'm confused. And I just want to speak to that. It's a real thing. Like allowing yourself, parts of yourself to die is a real thing. It is a process. It is filled with all the emotions of loss and grief. There are moments where I'm angry, moments where I refuse to believe, moments where I can't believe, moments where I just simply don't understand and fight, resist, moments where I completely surrender and then I realize I've given up and I have to get up and try again. So this process isn't clean, it isn't clear, it is nothing that I say lucidus is. Isn't that the irony? Is lucidus is all about clarity and brilliance and clear and shining the light on dark things. And I feel like I am in the muckiest, muddiest, messiest, dirtiest death ever. It's very confusing. So the latest thing that sort of triggered my next descent, I would say, into this death cycle was I spoke to the prosecuting attorney this week about my rape trial. And, she had a few questions, and then she did end with saying, I know that your trial is scheduled, but remember, there are other trials scheduled that same time, and they take precedence, so they will trump yours. We just stack them up in case one of them falls through. So there's two others that will happen before mine. So both of those would need to last minute fall through for mine to actually happen. She said, so there's a very good likelihood that yours will be rescheduled. And I wasn't surprised, I knew this, but to hear her say it again. So we got off the phone, and to hear her say it again, I hung up and I sat there for a moment and I realized that once again I was waiting for that date, for that thing to happen before I lived again. And I feel like this whole process of going through the judicial system, one of the biggest things it's taught me is that I'm constantly waiting for something to happen before I'm gonna live again. Because when that thing happens, then it will be safe, or it will be good, or it will be whatever it needs to be for me to live again. And in that moment when I got off the phone, I realized I'm doing it again. I'm waiting for the end of this to happen before I live again. Like I have to finish this mountain, so to speak. I have to finish climbing this mountain before I can stop and look around and just enjoy where I'm at. I have to finish climbing this mountain before I can consider or plan anything on the other side of the mountain. I have to, there's nothing but finishing this mountain. And in some respects, that's somewhat true. I mean, it's a big deal. But at the same time, I realized, okay, if it doesn't happen, you have been waiting once again, just waiting for months for this to happen, and it didn't happen. So I just took a big exhale and thought, okay, it's just time again. I've done this over and over and over through this whole process. I take a step forward into the dying process and let whatever part of me needs this thing to happen, I let it die a little bit more. And I just step forward and say, is there some other part of me that wants to live to help replace the absence of this death? And sometimes the death occurs in me and I can just feel the hollowness, the emptiness, the grief. Other times it feels like the death occurs and very rapidly another part of me rises up and says, I am ready, I've been waiting, let's go. And the second one was what this experience was. So I just sat there and thought, okay, like let it go. Just almost try to pretend that there is no rape trial to prepare for because you have no idea when it's actually going to happen. And it just live. Like, what would it mean for you to live? Like, let that part of you die that needs the rape trial to be done and try to live. So it was a couple of days that went by where I was just like, okay, like let that date, that rape trial completion notion, just let it die. Like just let it go. But who knows when or how that thing is ever going to happen. But you can't live for it and you can't wait for it anymore. So a couple of days later, all of a sudden, this thing rose up and said, I have been waiting, I am ready, let's try this thing. So I didn't even ask. I was honestly proud of myself because I allowed this impulse for life and creativity to live. And I just said, okay, let's try this. And I just put it out there. It's an event that may or may not happen. And I just dictated it the way that this sort of like part of me did. And I said, okay, there you go. There were parts, it was interesting because when I say I let it dictate the, the tone of the event, the wording of the event, uh, just all the little aspects of it. And I felt like it was honestly a little harsh and constrictive and restrictive and not as welcoming as I have been in other events that I've done. But I just was like, no, I don't. For me, the goal isn't that this event happen or that anyone show up. The goal for me was that I let this impulse live. I just let it live, and I let it be as authentic as it wanted to be because this is its first sprouting. I'm allowing it to sprout for the first time, so I'm not going to try to clip it back. You can't clip back one tiny little seedling, right? Like it just needs the space. It needs to be that one tiny seedling. Before I go on with this seedling, I want to stop. I want to say, I was recently listening to a podcast, and I'm glad I don't. I remember the podcast, but I'm glad I don't remember the guest because I'm not going to speak favorably of her. Young woman, maybe in her 30s, total go getter, and she was just like, "You are ruining your life with your authenticity. Like when you go to work and you're authentic, you are ruining your chances of success, and you're ruining your life." And I thought, I didn't agree with it at all because I thought, well, she's presuming that success for me means success in the workplace, meaning like rising up and getting promotions and da 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 da. But that isn't how I define success. And so for me, removing my authenticity in the workplace so that I can get a raise or a promotion or be, quote, more effective, that would be complete failure for me because authenticity is the only way I do well. It's the only way I do well. Now, that said, I don't think you spew, your shit everywhere. You obviously learn how to be authentic in constructive ways. Have I been constructive in creating this event? I don't know. And I just let it go because I asked myself, do I care if this happens? No. Do I care if anyone comes? No, I'd actually prefer it doesn't happen. Okay, then let it stand as it is in this moment. Let this one little seedling that's willing to rise up and say, let's try again. Let's try to live again. Let it have its way. Like, let it have its way. It's one tiny little seedling. And let's just see. And if it doesn't, if the event doesn't happen, no one comes, nothing lost. Nothing lost. You know, is there maybe there should be some kind of shame? Maybe a little, maybe some like embarrassment, maybe. But I even went through that too. I was like, what are people gonna think? They'd be like, wow, she's like, what kind of place is she in? And I'm gonna they're gonna be like, well, they're gonna see what kind of place I'm in. I'm in a pretty like specific place. Like I was very clear about you need to get specific work done before you come to the event. If you're not going to do it, don't come. Like I just said it. I just said, just don't come. Like if you're not going to do it, don't come. Don't even think about registering. So that's kind of the people I'm interested in. I've had a lot of people work with me who um, were not able to do their fair share, took advantage of what I was doing, and not interested in those kinds of people anymore. And I believe in the boomerang, which I would also call karma or fate. You don't get a free ride. And you don't get a free ride with me anymore. Like you can show up or not show up. So, okay, back to this tiny little seedling, dying to live again. Oftentimes, when I allow myself to die, nothing comes up for a long, long time. And it's just a process of grief and loss and sorrow and just all it, and the emptiness and loneliness and the da 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 da. So when I stepped into allowing myself to die again, to die to a certain date when the trial might be over, to die to the trial even being over, to die to needing to know how it turns out, to die to needing me to do well, to die to needing me to be believed. There's all those parts of me I'm still trying to let them die because they aren't important. And I know it, as powerful as they are and the strong a hold they have on me at times, I know the important thing is just that I did this. Never in this process have I been told or felt like I have to win. No. No, it was just like, you need to do this. You just need to do this thing. Go through this process. Just go through it. But the other parts of me that have a strong hold are, you need to do well, you need to win, you need to be believed, you need to get it done. You need to finish this thing. And those parts of me are just killing me. They're just killing me. They're not dying, they're killing me. And those are the parts I need to die. And they're strongholds and they've gotten me to achieve a lot of things in this life, but I no longer am really affiliated with that kind of success. And so, and yet, and also, I'm afraid that without them, I won't succeed because they have been a large measure of my success in the past. Getting it done, getting it right, getting people to believe me, blah, 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 blah. I have not fully trusted in this thing I would call faith. Um, you might also call it energy. You could also call it karma, kismet, synchronicity. Um, just to trust that my success is in walking my path. And that takes away all outer measurements. And so then I ask myself, well, am I walking my path? What am I doing? Am I doing this right? What am I doing? And that's where I say, you gotta listen. You gotta listen to your intuition. And I would say intuition and universe for me are the same. I have a universe in me and it whispers little things to me. There's also the outer universe and it whispers things to me. I think it's the same, just kind of different angles, different perspectives, but definitely in alignment. And the little voices are always just, you need to live. You need to learn to live again. You need to learn to live again. Well, I can't. It's almost like there's no room to live again because I'm like a plant that's been potted in a pot too long, and all of my roots are bound and just circling around in circles. I need to be taken out of the pot and have all my roots stimulated and unwound and da 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 da. I need a bigger pot first of all. I need some new dirt. I need more dirt. I need more room. I also need water, and then I need the faith to grow. And I'm so afraid to grow. I can't say that I'm actually still in the pot. I feel like I've been taken out of the pot. It's almost like, I don't know if I'm quite in the new pot yet, but I know I'm afraid to let my roots grow. I'm afraid to let this one tiny seedling show its face and and possibly facilitate an event again like I used to. Like it terrifies me. Everything terrifies me now. It's crazy. I think back when I was, and of course, youth, you know, youth is such, there's such bliss in it because we don't know. And I just felt like I'd take the world, by its horns and just be like, let's do this thing. I was so excited to ride it and love it and win it. And I did do a great job. And I could use some of that sort of ignorance, which honestly was just innocence. But I could use some of that innocence again where it's like, okay, grab the world by its horns and ride and see where it goes and trust that when you get bucked off, because I just don't know anybody's life that doesn't have a moment where you get bucked off, but when you get bucked off, get up. You know how to get up. You know how to let if some part of you needs to die or, be injured for a while you learn, you know, okay, and then you get up and dust yourself off and walk over to the rails and climb back up and wait your turn to ride again. It's also another interesting notion is that it's not always your time to ride. It's not always. Sometimes other people are riding and you watch. And I absolutely 100% struggle with envy. I see other people riding life so well and I'm just like, wow, how are they doing it? And they've got it. And I wish I could do that. How come they can do that? Envy can lead me to, I guess the two things are doubt, well, three, doubt, despair, and hate. Those are the main places that envy takes me. But it's not always your time to ride. Other people are riding too. And sometimes the best thing you can do is watch. Watch somebody else ride and be like, oh, they're not doing that well. And they're going to get bucked off real quick. Get there. Okay, there it goes. And then somebody else, you're like, wow, they're doing well. Like they have an understanding of this that is solid, and so they're on there longer, and they might not get totally bucked off. They might just slip off and then hop back on, and there's lots of ways to sort of find that ride, and of course it looks a million different ways. But sometimes it's our turn to watch and wait and die. Allow parts of us to die and also allow injured parts of us to heal. And we just sit on the rails. I grew up on a farm in Longship, Utah, and so I remember sitting on rails or just hanging on rails, watching people ride, watching people do their thing. I also rode, but I'm an excellent, like I had a seat, I have an excellent seat. It would be interesting if I got on again and it was still there. It was just almost intuitive. Like I'm quite a very intuitive, beautiful rider, but I never rode. Like I never had the horse or the precision or the training to win anything. But I could ride a horse. I love horses. It'd be fun to ride one day. I've been hoping that my back strengthens to a place where I feel confident and comfortable riding a horse again. But another story. Not really another story, actually, now that I think about it. It's me believing or just dreaming of a life that exists beyond this one, where I've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. So, dying to live again. It's not just words. It's not even just emotions. For me, there's so many thoughts that I have to sort of endure. Like my mind can just go crazy at times and it's just like spews all this crap at me. And sometimes it's like negative, just crap, like you can't do this and da, da, da. But sometimes it's just shit, it's just like nothing. It's just like blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God, would you just stop for a minute? And the interesting thing is, it's mostly been happening at night. And so, like last night, I laid there for 2 hours, and my mind was just like, blah, just like, da 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 da. I was just like, oh, like, please. I tried to meditate. I was just like, please stop. Like, please just. I normally will put on an audiobook, and I'll put it on the slowest setting, so it's like this. It's like monotone, slow, drab background. And I didn't. I was like, no, I'm kind of tired of turning to that. I'm just gonna let this thing like run its course. And it was like 2.5 hours before it finally ran itself dry, and I was able to go back to sleep. But it was exhausting. So what I'm saying is like the dying process is a process. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to die, or this part of me is dying, and that's it. It's not just words, it's not just emotions, it's not just thoughts. It's like it's a whole new way of being. And you can't get there until you go through the whole process, as long as it takes. So for me today, I was sharing this because I continue to want to, I have this fantasy, and it does feel like a fantasy, that one day I will not struggle every single day. That there will come a time in my life where I have struggles, but they aren't every single day. And when that day comes, I won't remember this. I won't remember what it's like to be in the day-to-day grind of figuring out how to die in order to live again. The day-to-day grind of daring to let one tiny little impulse live. One tiny little seedling reach for light. I won't remember this. I won't remember. You forget things so quickly. When it's good, you forget the hard so quickly. And when it's hard, you forget the good so quickly. Speaking for myself here. So today is for me to remember that dying is a process. It's a very real, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, cosmic process. And that it's hard and it hurts. And there's a lot of aloneness and loneliness. There's a lot of aloneness and loneliness. Even, yes, I live alone, but even if I was surrounded by people, I would still be alone in this. And I would still be lonely because I've lost a part of me. I'm losing parts of myself all the time. And it's refreshing, it's humbling, it's exciting when a new one sprouts its head, but at the same time, it's so small and fragile. It can't bear any weight at this time. All I can do is watch and see if it grows. But for now, it's sort of feeling a little bit of the emptiness, but it's not anything I can lean on. It's not an oak tree for sure. So even as new life emerges, it doesn't suddenly solve the problem. It's still a process. And I know what I'm talking about. You know, they say it's eternally a process. And it is so true, so true, so true, so true. But I do feel like there are different stages. When you're in different stages of the process, it requires different qualities from you. Different qualities. It's interesting because I used the word humbleness, humility. When my mom died, I felt like that was part of what she gave me. Like literally, like the day she died was humility. The word humility and humbleness from her. That was important for me. It felt like a gift, not like a lesson to learn, or it wasn't. It was just like this humility, this humbleness, is for you. It's a gift for you. And I have felt quite humble since her passing, and the humbleness has helped me feel more at peace with myself and my process and my life, and also humble to the people around me. I have always seen humbleness and humility as a weakness, and that people would take advantage of it. And I actually, now that I say that, I want to go back and look at times when people have taken advantage of me or the situation I've created. And I would say that wasn't humbleness or humility they took advantage of. It was, I would say it was me not willing or not understanding how to protect what is not, what is mine. How to protect what is mine. So, dying to live again. And if anyone's ever had something out there like a rape trial or some other kind of big, hard event that they knew they needed to get through, I can imagine how hard it must be to live without needing that thing to happen or to go a certain way. So many times in life we don't know what's coming, and there is some blessing to that. In this situation, I think I know what's coming, right? I think a rape trial is going to happen. And that is equally difficult because I can imagine all the things, all the things, all the things. Anyway. So this is to remind all of those who are dying to live again. It's messy, it's mucky, it's all the things. And it's the way. And this is to remind those people that are standing in their fully grown garden and everything's going breezy. Maybe reach down and pick up some of the humble earth. And remember how fragile everything is. I hope you all have a beautiful, beautiful day.